Welcome to Montage Recaps. The movie begins with Ethan Hunt and Julia Mead getting married, but Solomon Lane is the officiant, and Ethan begins to feel apprehensive. Just as Lane rants that Ethan should have murdered him, an explosion occurs, melting Ethan's face off as he grasps Julia. In Belfast, where he is given his most recent task, Ethan awakens in a safe house. Since being apprehended, the syndicate's surviving members who go by the name the Apostles have continued their terrorist operations, including causing a smallpox outbreak in Kashmir. They are currently collaborating with an enigmatic leader by the name of John Lark to obtain 3 plutonium cores with the aid of a missing weapons expert named Niels Delbruck. The aim is to prevent the Apostles from obtaining the cores so they can't use them for their intended purpose. To negotiate a deal with the Apostles for the plutonium, Ethan meets up with Benji Dunn and Luther Stickle in Berlin. However, one of the Apostles abducts Luther from his van, and they demand the plutonium before they kill him. Instead of going for the Apostles, Ethan shoots Luther, who is wearing a bulletproof vest, first. However, the cores have been snatched during the commotion. On Wolf Blitzer's program, a news broadcast describes terrorist bombs that occurred in Rome, Jerusalem, and Mecca. Delbruck, who is lying in a hospital bed, has been watching this as Ethan and Luther approach. They warn him that unless he turns over the passcode to a phone that contains information on Lark, his manifesto has been confiscated by the police and will be broadcast on the news. Blitzer picks up the manifesto and begins to read it as Delbruck answers the phone. Then, as if as an IMF ruse to coerce him to collaborate, the barriers collapse and Blitzer is shown to be Benji disguised as Blitzer. Ethan meets with the new IMF secretary Alan Hunley, who informs him that Lark is scheduled to meet with Vanessa Kirby, a notorious arms dealer known as the White Widow, at a party at the Grand Palais in Paris that evening to collect the plutonium. Following that, they are welcomed by the newly appointed CIA Director Erica Sloan. Due to the failure of the Berlin mission, Sloan lacks trust in allowing IMF to function independently. As a result, she sends Walker along with Ethan to ensure the success of the mission. Amid a thunderstorm, Walker and Ethan prepare to HALO jump from a plane. Ethan needs to revive Walker before they hit the ground after he gets struck by lightning. They succeed in getting to the top of the Grand Palais, where they enter the building intending to use a sedative to put Lark to sleep so they may pose as him and meet White Widow. They believe they saw him enter the restroom, and when Ethan recognized the man as Liang Yang, he joined Walker in fighting him. Lark defeats him with a laptop, although he is tougher than anticipated despite being flung through a mirror. Unfortunately, it's the laptop required to create Lark's face mask. Soon after waking up, he resumes his battle with Ethan and Walker. He reaches for his gun, but Ilsa Faust, Rebecca Ferguson, shoots him in the head. As Ethan determines he must pretend to be Lark himself, they conceal Lark's body in the stall. To meet with White Widow, Ethan enters a room using a bracelet he stole from Lark. Her brother Zola, Frederick Schmidt, is suspicious when he sits with her, but Ethan persuades her that she needs his help. When other Apostles in the room attempt to assassinate White Widow, Ethan and Ilsa kill them before White Widow can even show she can compete. Ethan visits the White Widow's residence, where the exchange is scheduled to take place. When Ethan obtains the asset, Lane, Zola informs him that the cores will be made available to him. Because he will be taken from an armored convoy, they want him to be broken out. White Widow provides Ethan 1 core as a down payment, with the assurance that the other 2 will be provided after Lane is brought to them. Ethan worries that to finish the mission, he might have to kill the police, but he persuades White Widow that he can. As Ethan and Walker intercept the convoy and drive it into the scene, Benji and Luther join them. While Ethan and Walker are being pursued by police as they flee on motorcycles through the city, they let Lane out. Ethan catches up to Walker after falling behind him, but he is able to avoid them and connect with Benji and Luther. Ilsa attempts to shoot at Lane as they are removing Lane, but they outpace her and make their way to their safe house. Ilsa then rides in on her bicycle and approaches them. A policewoman, Alex Benezek, urges the squad to stop what they are doing after she sees them taking Lane. It doesn't help that he is wearing a sack on his head. The officer is then shot by one of 4 men who later arrive. Ethan kills all 4 of them before they can kill her. When they get to the safe house, Lane reminds Ethan that he ought to have murdered him. After revealing that the men that were killed were her own, White Widow and Ethan reconnect. He assures her that Lane is in their care and will be brought to them in London. Ilsa informs him that MI6 has given her the assignment to assassinate Lane when he speaks to her after realizing that she has been following him. Lane is brought to the team's safe home in London, where Hunley discovers them and confronts Ethan with evidence that suggests he is Lark. While the real Lane is being observed by Walker, Hunley tries to abort the mission, but Ethan calms him down so they can go meet with White Widow. As they carry out their plan, Walker approaches Lane and claims to be the actual John Lark. Walker and Lane had been working together the entire time to frame Ethan so they could obtain the plutonium. Walker then understands that the Lane he was conversing with was actually Benji, and Hunley overheard everything while simultaneously allowing Sloane to hear it. Stay tuned for Part 2. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your time.